I never didn't believe in Bigfoot. I never believed in it, I didn't believe in it. I never gave it any thought.
They kept wood knocking back and forth to each other, and it was in a pattern.
Barn owls don't typically throw rocks.
I come across these tracks.
Sasquatch is still not on my mind.
All right. We are officially live. I don't know if we needed to use my full intro for this episode, but we did. All right, Tim. Tim, what is your last name? Sorry. I think you're muted.
Hi, good evening. Tim Cuevas is my last name.
Cuevas, okay. I kept thinking Chavez. I'm like, because I've been
People always call me that all throughout the years.
Too much Lou Diamond Phillips lately. I recently met him. I'm not even joking.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How was that?
He, little Filipino dude.
Yeah.
But your biography is. I usually don't ask. Tell us about yourself, but can you tell me about your biography and?
Yeah, sure. I basically a science teacher, middle school, high school. I've been teaching now for way over 20 years. Before that, I was in the military. With that being said, throughout the military, I was an MP. I was also a medic when I was in the military. And then, within the military and within the education, that's where I'm at. That's my career.
And I remember you contacted me when I was looking for science professionals.
Yep.
I put out data calls like that all the time, and people answer and I forget.
Oh yeah, I love it. And science is the best subject to teach. It really is. There's so much you can do. If there's somebody that says that science is boring, that's because of your teacher. Mm-hmm. That's why.
Or it's because you're not a smart person.
That too.
A lot of yeah. Remember I told you our first question was going to be a surprise. Like I was going to say, so do you think we're in a simulation or not? And how did we get here? That was my first question.
If you want to go that route, earlier today, I was reading that more scientists, the more they're learning with the cosmos and what's going on. It's more or less Cosmo and more simulations is what they're saying now. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, the two people that I respect a lot and what they say, Elon Musk. What do you say? 95% he believes we are in a simulation.
Oh, he's like it's 99%.
Or not, maybe 99 there.
It's like there's no chance we're not.
Yep. And then Neil Tyson,
Neil
the other one. Yep. He says he's 50-50 is what he says. And when them two say something, that's I take it to heart and I never question.
I think that's I think if you can move your definition of simulation around, there's 100% chance we are.
Oh, absolutely. And I agree.
It's 100%. If you play with the definition a little bit, it's not. We're not in Sims. There's no triangle above our head.
Yeah.
but if you believe like what's the gateway process that the CIA released back in the day?
Oh, you want to go there? Guess what? I'm almost finishing that program. Are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. I am now finishing up. I'm in my 5th wave. Actually, I think it goes to 6, and they added some.
You did the whole thing.
Oh, I'm almost done. Almost done the whole thing.
I just read it. I didn't start.
Oh, it's listen. We could do a year's. We could just do a show, gateway. Talking about gateway and experiences. We can do that as just a show in itself, and not only a show, but a podcast. Where you can get all kinds of people. Wanted to add in their experiences. But funny you said that because I'm on my, and I'll tell you which one. I'm on my 5th 4 is what it is. 5th wave, unit 4 section.
I know that when I was reading it and it had that I did like a 5-minute documentary on it.
Yeah.
But it was like, if you try to make something happen too quick, it will cause something bad to happen, and that tracks right along with kind of a monkey's paw kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I want to be a millionaire, and then all of a sudden, like a relative gets killed by a truck, and so you get like $5 million.
Yeah,
And
yeah. You got to be careful. It's like what's that joke with a genie? If you wish more, if you get 3 wishes. If you say I want 5 wishes or 4 wishes, what do they say? You the one, and that becomes the genie, and then you become stuck in the bottle. Then
there's a couple like that I can't say even on this podcast.
oh yeah, yeah, and I could tell you some amazing experiences, with that. As a matter of fact, when I started learning about it, when I started meditating some years back, I'm always looking for new things. And when I came to the gateway, I started, researching it. And I got to be honest with you, I was scared of it at first. I was scared to do it at first. It was just wasn't ready for it. After about 1.5 to 2 years of meditation, then I started doing it, and it was perfect. It was perfect timing. It's just more the way if somebody asks me what do I think it's just meditation, just at a very deeper level. And when you get to those deeper levels, that's when you can make a lot of those amazing things happen.
And it boils down to a thought can become a particle. And that's the that's the meat and potatoes of it. And
that's
it's
all
true.
it is. Your mind and your thoughts are what manifests everything.
It is terribly true, and it takes forever for things to happen, and synchronicities start in, and you start wondering if it's ever going to happen. And like it just gets deeper and deeper and deeper.
And the one thing that I've learned with that also is when it comes to that, people think that it's like a spell, it's magic. It is not. I want to be a millionaire. Okay, you're doing everything that's right. However, people think, and it can happen and has happened, that hey, listen, I want to be a millionaire. All of a sudden, you play the lottery and you win it. Has that happened? Absolutely. But the way it happens is when you start doing it, you start aligning yourself with at the quantum level, and that's where everything, like you said, starts occurring. And the way it occurs, it's not like something that, hey, listen, overnight, hey, I have $1 million. All of a sudden, there's a briefcase with $1 million in front of your house. No. But what it does is it aligns you and sets you up with what you are doing now, that you'll start making more money. All right. For example, at my new job, let's say, when I started doing it, all of a sudden, I wanted to make money. All of a sudden, in our teacher's contract, we got, 5%. Well, guess what? Right there is a part of an aspect of how it happens. One time in the mail, I got a check, from the government saying, "Oh, listen, hey, we forgot, to give you this, 8 years ago, and it was a check for $3,000." Do you see? That's how it works. And through actually, I'm not even a year done with it. I'll be a year in August. That's what I have learned. Also with manifesting and all that, the gateway, it's basically what it was catered to was astral projection. That's what it was catered to. Okay, that's where it all started.
It was like they're using it to spy. They're trying to use it to spy.
Absolutely. With the spy gate and all that, absolutely. And it started out with that, but the fact of the matter is meditating is meditating. And there are different ways of meditating. There are certain different levels that you can meditate. And if you stay consistent with it, you can have some amazing things happen. Probably, and one of the best when you do it, your physical, your mental, that all starts also aligning too. Which I think it's, and when people say define the quantum, what is quantum? Everything is related. Everything. We are all one. We all come from one. We are all interconnected. And by the way, with the quantum learning that, with the cryptids and stuff like that, thinking about that, it's kind of interesting now, with what I'm reading and learning and researching with the quantum and how I associate it with the cryptids, which I think is very interesting in itself.
There's a lot of with the like tulpas when it comes to dealing with cryptids and it seems like the UFOs and the aliens we see at a certain time period are exactly the ones that are on TV.
Yeah,
like that's the what projected. And I don't know if it's like demons making themselves what we think they should look like, or if it's tulpas in real time.
Yeah, very interesting with tulpas. Mind creatures they used to call them.
Mhm.
Years ago, I read a book. I think it was a professor. She was a female. Her name was something Neil, Kneel, and she went
Mhm.
and back in the I think in the 20s or 2025 from 1920 25. She actually went to and spent some time with some of the Buddhists and all that. And if you read the book, I can get you the book. I can get you the name of it. It's on my phone because I actually wanted to reread it. So many amazing things with people always talking about the Buddha and what they can do, the magical aspects of it.
Mhm.
And she actually has that in her book, the experiences of all these things that you hear of the magical aspects of what Buddhists can do. She has that in her book. And I thought that was very interesting. But she did have a little section on tapas, and she actually conjured up a tapas. She conjured one up, and she had some problems with it because what she said is with tapas, if you lose control of them, then they become their own individual, and it becomes
Mhm.
harder and harder
Definitely.
for you to get rid of them then. So yeah, you got to watch it. And it's with tapas and mind control, everything is circumstantial. I think things have to align for all that to happen. Do you know what I mean? Whatever she did, and in the book she said, she was given the prescribed meditations. In other words, they told her what she needed to do to produce these tapas, or mind creatures they called them,
Mhm.
and she did it. Well, it took months. This is something that hey, listen, I did the required meditations. No, this takes months, and it starts appearing slowly, like transparent. And then all of a sudden, as time goes on, this thing starts becoming becoming more involved with your life, becoming more of a solid. It becomes solid then. For example, in her book, if I remember correctly, one of her helpers, one of the Sharpas, I believe, went into her tent to get something for her, and he saw was a llama. He saw a llama in her tent. It was this mind creature. That's what he saw. Where what she was seeing was like the Buddha, the chubby Buddha. People always see. That's what she was in
Mhm.
her mind. That's what she was. So anyway, if you read the book, and I can get to it, it was awesome. But she talked about some of that levitation stuff that she's witnessed, some of those amazing, psychic abilities that they can produce, because of their many years of meditation.
Yeah, it's weird that sort of crosses with all some of the saints have the same
Oh wow, yeah,
ability. You got the levitating and the
yep,
dual persona. One can
absolutely,
be across the world.
yep. Oh,
Has
I,
this,
I I think that is so cool. You know that.
and
Yeah,
people say they saw it.
you can replicate yourself.
Who is the saint that they had to chain to the floor because he'd float off? I can't remember. He's like the
I don't.
patron saint of
Yeah,
zeppelins or
I
something.
don't remember. I don't remember who it was. But
I love
yeah,
it.
but I remember reading. People, especially the one monk who was able to levitate almost as will,
Mhm.
and
But
that wasn't that long ago. I was like in the 1500s.
yeah, it was close.
Yeah.
Bilocate is what they called it.
By location, yes,
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, and there are a bunch of reports of people who, saints that were able to biolocate.
There's a fiction book. It's called Lamb,
Uh-huh.
and it's about Jesus in his childhood up to his 32nd birthday.
Yep.
And in one of the expeditions, Jesus goes to Himalayas and hangs
Yeah,
out
you'll
with
hear those rumors.
yeah,
Yep, because he had what, a couple years missing. I
yeah,
think
like
33.
a
Yeah,
lot.
he had a couple years that were missing, and people like, where were we at? Yeah,
Mhm.
rumor has it that he actually went up with the Buddhist,
He was learning to do that stuff,
learned how to do all that stuff, came back and started curing people and doing
replicate
those
rice
miracles.
and things.
Exactly. And yeah, there are those rumors that that's what he did. He went and learned how to do all that stuff when he was with the Buddhists in the
I don't have a
Himalayas.
problem with that,
No, neither do
honestly,
I.
as a Catholic, because he had abilities when he was younger.
Yeah, yes, he
Because
did.
there's a lot of that going around. So what says he didn't go there and perfect them and just
No,
like practice them like Karate Kid style
yeah,
and just come?
absolutely. Hey, it's a possibility. It's a possibility. And I'll tell you one thing, with all my research and all my reading, and me being Catholic too, and I went to Catholic
Mhm,
school and everything. Um, this can be controversial. I can, piss a lot of people off, but there might be it just might be that the quantum field is God. That's where we're getting to. Because everything in the quantum field, everything, all the rules that we have, um, does not pertain to the quantum field. It has its own rules.
mhm,
It's just an amazing, and not only that, but the reason why I'm saying this is because there was the test that was done, but in the quantum field, especially when it comes to light is waves and particles, depending on if you are observing it. If you're observing it, it will change. What that has to have a conscious. It has to. And
the slit test.
The slit test, exactly. Where if light is particles, when
It's
you're
like
actually
two.
looking at it, then it turns into a waves. If you're not looking at it, it turns into a particle. That's just, that in itself is just so amazing. That's when I'm like, wow, this is incredible. This is that the quantum field has a conscious, and it's almost scary. Actually, it's almost scary.
Yeah, it's like when a part of a video game has to render when you go into it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like it's not there if you don't see it.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
That's the kind of thing that makes me a bad coworker, because I'll start thinking about that and forget about everything else.
I know.
I'm like, how can we do this knowing that if you look at light, it does something else?
Yeah, it's very true. And you kind of mentioned it. We can only go as fast as the speed of light. Of course, that's changed with the entanglement now. Where two molecules can be 1 billion years apart, and whatever movement one is doing, the other one is simultaneously doing it 1 billion miles away. All right, so now we have now changed what speed is now. We could only go to the speed of light. And one of the theories is because whoever is making us, whatever game we are in, the Matrix.
I call it a game too.
Yeah,
this video game we're playing.
Yeah, exactly. People talk about the Matrix. Well, guess what? We're not too far away. We really are not too far away from that. But and just like I said this morning, I was reading an article that more and more of people who are studying the quantum, and a lot of these astrophysicists, they're saying that what's happening in the cosmos seems more like a computer game than it does whatever natural laws that that we have to oblige by in the universe.
Especially since it has to render to get to us, and we're seeing things that are happening whenever it happened 1 billion years ago. It's not just instant. So Brendan has a question.
Sure.
Where do you suppose the origin of the photons emitted by plasmoids come from?
Oh man, I have no idea.
Jesus, Brendan.
Yeah, I mean, those are questions that I won't even begin to, because just looking into the quantum fields and photons, and and I teach about electrons, photons, in the high school level, middle school level. But when it comes to quarks and breaking it down more and more, it starts becoming confusing. And even, you got to understand, even physicists don't even understand at that level. They don't even understand, which is one of the problems we're having. The more we're learning more and more about it, the more we learn about it, the more questions we have.
And it's almost my hypothesis, not theory, that the end of the world kind of thing comes along and we figure it all out. Like the game maker comes back and we start being able to travel the FTL.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you're ruining everything now. Thanks, Brendan. Tell your friends. If you have more questions, feel free to ask. I was telling Brendan talking to the comments there. But yeah, it's crazy like that, because you get to looking at the God particle and CERN,
absolutely,
and many black holes. And I saw a theory the other day that the universe was inside a black hole. I'm like, well,
yes, that is a theory in itself, that our universe is in a black hole in itself, or our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy. There are some theories that believe that we are in a black hole. I apologize. I apologize. Not. I mean, because that can get into very complicated, situations, and I'm not comfortable to talk at that level yet.
Oh yeah, it's fine.
That deep level yet. Even with the quantum field, me saying that, what's the possibility that the quantum field might be God? I better be careful. I might, there'll be people with pitchforks out in front of my house.
I would say if it's not God, it's kind of like God's paintbrush.
Yeah.
If whatever God is, if God, like we may, how humans have to personify everything.
Yes.
And like God may not be a Might not have to be a person.
Well,
Yeah.
even as Catholics, what
Yeah.
we learned. God is a being in itself.
Mhm.
And then we have the try, which is impossible. When people say, with Jesus and God and the Holy Spirit,
Mhm.
that's how do you explain that? That they're separated, but they're one and the same. Guess what? What does that sound like there, Bob? What does that sound like?
Sounds
They're
like particles.
separated, but they're
Yeah.
all the same. What does that sound like?
Sounds like the theory earlier you're talking about.
Thank you. It sounds exactly like the quantum level, the
Mhm.
theories. Exactly. When I was growing up in Catholic school, God is everywhere. God is everything. God does everything. God lets you do whatever you want. We learned all this stuff. Well, guess what? Some, so, God may be, at the quantum level. And when I saw that slit, when he did that the slit
Yeah,
theory or whatever
it
it
has
is.
the 5 slits,
Yeah,
and if you
and
look at it, it goes to 2.
when I saw that, that's when I'm like, wow, that really shook me. That really shook me. That's what I was like, wow, there's conscious. If this thing changes by it being observed, that scared. It actually scares me. It scares me. But let's say we are let's say a game. Okay, let's say we are in a matrix. What would change, do you think, Bob? What would change?
Other than knowing, probably nothing.
Nothing. Exactly. If I would say just whoever my maker is, just keep things the way they are. Don't unplug us. I have kids, I have a family,
I think
you
I
know.
may read more into hardcore manifestation and making it happen,
Yeah,
taking slightly more risk, but I probably wouldn't change a whole lot. I mean, I don't want to not have a family anymore.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's all I would say. I would say, you know what, keep everything status quo. Keep everything status quo is what I always say.
Yeah, and maybe make gas a little cheaper. Because I'm
Yeah,
interested in
that's for sure.
tau neutrinos that don't have interactions with magnetism or anything else, represented as a particle below Planck.
When I think of neutrinos and magnetism, the first thing, portholes is the first thing that I think of.
Mhm.
Opening portholes. That's the first thing I think of, which of that in itself is another thing we can always talk about
That's
when it comes to that level. But with magnetism, there are certain theories of when it comes to teleportation, because we've already teleported. Now, it was in a microscopic, it was an electron level, but
mhm.
we've already done those tests. We've already proved, like I said, we've already proved that we have things that are faster than light, by, the entanglement theory.
That entanglement theory will ruin your afternoon if you're not careful. You'll start getting down rabbit holes. Like, how does that even work?
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
how are they connected at light
I,
years away?
yeah, that's where I don't even, there's certain things that blow my mind, as a science teacher. The quantum area, the quantum study, that is blowing my mind. It gives me a headache. Some of the other things that blows my mind is in our cosmos. I always tell my kids when I teach planets and space and that, our sun, we can fit I would say about 1.2 million Earth inside our sun.
Mhm.
Okay. There are suns out there in the cosmos that you can fit like tens of million of our sun
Mhm.
inside that sun. Can you, the magnitude of the size of that? It's like, it just gives me a headache that there's things that large in the
Yeah,
cosmos. I couldn't believe that. I thought our sun was huge. No, we got suns out there that you could put 1 billion of our suns inside of it.
and I saw they got those the videos that have the progression of the size of the stars,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and it goes real forward and pulls forward, and there's something that takes up the whole screen. And I've wondered, like, if you were in a spaceship and could fly to one of those, would you
Yeah.
notice how big it was, or since there's nothing I can compare it to, like, oh, there's just another star. Like, oh, there's
Yeah,
nothing.
that's a good question. Really, that's a great question.
And I could like always say, like, take up my whole afternoon by starting to think about how far away the moon is.
Yeah.
Because you think it's like 20-minute drive. That's the 400,000 miles
Yeah,
or 200,000 miles, 400,000 kilometers.
yeah, it's a
And
distance.
when you see somebody take a basketball and then go across the pasture with a tennis ball and say this is where the moon is compared to the Earth, like, that's It's like 300 yards. Like,
Yeah.
how is that even possible? I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it's virtual. It's a planet the size of, the southwestern hemisphere, southeastern hemisphere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, more all intents and purposes.
Well, how
So
about go ahead, Bob.
I said, so for it to be that size, I guess it has
Yeah.
to be pretty damn far.
Oh yeah. The other thing to consider about when you talk about the moon, that it is a satellite, but
Mhm.
it may not be a moon satellite. They may think that that the moon was placed there.
Hmm. I mean,
That
look at how it helps us out.
yeah.
400,
Oh my,
400
yeah.
times closer than the sun, and the sun's 400,000. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
and yeah, that's what
intelligent design.
and I get it confused when they talk about a maker. When they talk about a maker, just think about how everything has to be so precise that if things were off, just say an inch,
Mhm.
what would happen? Do you know what I mean? I always thought, when you piece things together, how everything fits together, that's amazing. It's amazing. That the moon, the sun, they're a certain distance away that we can make a eclipse occur. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Solar and
Exactly the same
lunar.
size as a star planet.
Think about that. How is that possible? How is that possible that those calculations were made so perfect that because of those calculations, we exist? We exist.
And they can be used as, like stars or omens and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I see Ashton with the 0 point may already have teleportation
Oh,
applications.
okay.
Absolutely. Yes. And I've been reading about that. The 0 point. It does
I
have teleportation applications from what I've been reading about.
I used to work with a physicist student back in college, and he was talking about how there was already working on teleportation, and that was 2004, 2005.
Yeah. I
So I
mean,
bet.
you always have your rumors that we've been doing. I think is a FERPA was one of the teleportation that the government started some
Mhm.
years back. They've had a couple. And like I said, we've already did it. We've already teleported. It's just when people think of teleportation, they think of Star Trek.
Yeah,
No, the teleportation we did were in the electron level, the proton electron level.
got to work their way up.
Yep, exactly. And is it a matter of time? Yeah. And not only that, but when we talk about teleportation, now with the quantum field and with the gateway and everything that we talked about, well, we teleport physically, but can we also teleport with our souls?
Hmm.
Do you see what I
Will
mean?
that come with us?
Are there two types of teleportation? The Star Trek where we could get in a machine and our whole body goes, but can we teleport like astral projection? Right there's another question that you could talk about and consider. Are we teleporting already? I don't know. How about dreams? What are dreams? Are dreams something in our past lives? Or some people with theories believe that we are teleporting, you know, into
Got
the past.
Walmart melatonin. Is what happens to me.
Yeah, how about it?
I'll be seeing all kinds of crazy stuff. He's talking about the Shroud of Turin. Yeah, man. I can imagine um, the flash of if the common known process of what happened in that tomb
Yeah.
happened, then the process of that body sucking back in that soul
Yep.
from heaven had to have caused some kind of straight up flash.
Well,
And
yeah. Well, listen to this. Not only flash, but talking about Jesus, talk about going to the Himalayas and
Mhm.
hanging out with the Buddhists. Well, guess what? There's a concept called rainbow body. And if you know anything about the rainbow body, it resembles almost the exact same thing that Jesus did. And what
Mhm.
happens is, if anybody knows about rainbow body, the higher level Buddhist, what they can do is, they can put they can put themselves in a state that at death, their death is, believe it or not, sometimes they shrink and disappear. They can shrink and disappear. And there are times where, and you can look up rainbow bodies. They already have some of these Buddhists.
Yep.
They're about a foot. These they were 5 feet, 5'5", and they shrunk themselves to a foot long. There's pictures of them. All right. And what they're saying is they're kind of saying, hey, wait a minute, this Buddhism rainbow body resembles what Jesus did in his resurrection. And with the Shroud of Turin is very interesting. It really is. The test, they make all their tests. They're saying, well, wait a minute. Some of these dates say, hey, maybe it's at the right time. And then they take another test and they're like, no, it was from the 1400s. There's always different people saying different things depending on the test itself. But in order for that to occur, to have that body, yes, there has to be some type of energy going on in order for you to imprint that body onto, cloth or whatever it was.
It says it's a rare and mystical phenomenon where practitioners' physical body transforms into a radiant light body at or around the time of death. So yeah, I mean, it's
kind of same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and everybody's like, well, that's not Christianity. Well, there weren't that kind of separation back then. It wasn't like every corner had a First Baptist church.
Absolutely.
It was, mysticism was mysticism, and
yes, it was.
Yeah, I may be speaking out of term here. I'm just saying it's not as cut and dry as isn't it?
Yeah, it is now, exactly.
Like, I don't have a problem with Jesus learning things from the Buddha and perfecting skills he already had.
Yeah.
I mean, he was still a human. So,
yes,
and every superhero movie, when somebody gets their powers, they always end up like burning down like some kind of building because they can't control it at first.
Yeah.
So
the X-Men, when they get to the age that their powers start to manifest themselves, yes, it's always something bad or something.
Yeah, it's a huge trope. Not saying Jesus is Flash or anything, but he's still a person. He was all God but part human at the same time. So I guarantee you he messed around with it a little bit.
Hey, listen, I keep an open mind, really.
Always.
You can't keep a closed mind. You got to keep an open mind because, especially like I said, with everything that's going on with the quantum levels, the world is going to change. It is going to change by leaps and bounds, and it's going to be really cool.
He said that Enoch did something like that too. Book of Enoch is phenomenal. I had on a group on here the other day that Cosmos University, and they had a whole dissertation on the Book of Enoch. We talked about it for like 2 hours.
Oh yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah, well, the Book of Enoch should have been in the Bible. They're saying it should have been one of the books, the Book of Enoch. I guess, and they were going to consider it. They were considering it, I guess, but it's just too much for people to take.
Being Catholic and everything, about Council of Nicaea, how they pick the books.
Yeah,
and
yep.
I know people. I know they picked those books because that's the one that you could use to control the populace.
And that's exactly
why they did that.
Exactly why.
You think a bunch of Romans gave a shit?
Yep, because if they would have put all the books that they were considering in the Bible, that Bible would be like 6 feet tall.
There's a lot of books.
Yes, it was a lot of books.
They definitely picked the ones to kind of curtail it to what they wanted it to be.
And that's exactly correct. To what they wanted us to do, to believe in. They wanted to build the doctrine at that time, and those were the books that they felt were the important ones to be able to, like you said, control people.
I think that a lot of the things that we're not allowed to do spiritually is in there for our own safety.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's on there so we don't explore other things and kind of like picking the apple. I think that might have been part of the apple in the Garden of Eden, is that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
well, if I remember correctly, when meditation at one time was considered, a crime. And why? Because during meditation, what do people do? They wake up. And when you wake up, you cannot be controlled.
Kind of like taking psilocybin or, doing a mushroom trip.
Yeah. Well, what is it? MCT, MTC, whatever.
DMT.
DMT.
That's MCT is what you put in your coffee in the morning.
Yeah,
makes you go to the bathroom.
Yeah, yes, but that's very interesting. What happens when you start taking that, and when it comes to religious and spiritualism and all that stuff, which I thought was very interesting.
Poncho says we're being lied to by education, government, and media. Yes, Poncho.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, that's nothing new.
Yeah, Vatican II is kind of, even though I don't mind not speaking Latin all the time.
Yeah,
they kind of dumbed it down a little bit because one of my old priests from back home opened up a Latin only church here in town, and it's crazy how much more is in there. You got to keep reading like subtitles, but you get a lot more out of it.
what was it? France, Lourdes, the kids that got the secrets. Fatima, was it Fatima? With the
Mhm.
3 kids, they received that secret in
Yeah.
Fatima. Remember that 3rd secret was never released. Do you remember? The first one happened, the
Mhm.
second, the third one. I really do believe it was the downfall of the Catholic Church, that 3rd secret, and I think it started with the priests and what they did to children. That's what that I think that was the start of it.
We had a a VHS of that when I was little.
Mhm.
And yeah, I never did understand what was going on to this day. I was like, what is that about?
Yeah,
The
it was
Fatima.
a shame. It's a shame.
And then there was the Our Lady of Guadalupe
Mhm.
that
Oh, like Mexico.
burned that picture into that coat.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Hillary
The
Clinton said it was a nice painting. It's not a painting.
Major Gory is very interesting because I had people. When I was in the military, I had friends that went to Major Gory. That's Yugoslavia, I believe. And there are people that go in there, and it's very spiritual, very religious, and you can almost witness some type of spiritual occurring. I had a captain that went there, and what he told me, 2 things. There's a big hill with a cross. At times at night, sometimes they say you can see that cross lit up, but dancing and spinning, they say. Um, what he told me, 2 miracles he said he witnessed when he was there. And, this guy's straightforward. He's a captain in the military. And he told me that him and his son, people, you can go to different places. Well, they went to that cross. And while he was walking up there, his son was a little kid. I'm not sure how old he was. He kept pointing up to the sky saying, "What is that? What is that, Dad? What is that?" And the dad would be looking up. The captain would be looking up. And he goes, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And his son kept saying, "Look at that in the sky. What is that?" Well, when they came back down to the path, there was back down to the path to the city. There was this big celebration because all kids, I think under the age of 8 or 9, were able to see what they thought was the Virgin Mary.
Oh,
Only the kids were able to see it, not the adults. And I thought that was very interesting. He also said that he bought a necklace, and it was silver in color. When he went home, he said that he swore that necklace changed gold. It wasn't silver. So I thought that was very interesting.
yeah, that would be. Everybody's freaking out looking at something that you can't see.
Yeah, that is. So I thought that was very interesting that he said all the kids that I think 8 or 9 under were able to see this entity up in the air, and they said it was the Virgin Mary is what they said.
That's like me with paranormal stuff. I can't see it.
Yep.
The
Well, don't
only
forget.
thing
Well, you got to remember, our eyes can only see, certain frequencies. Where if we were able to see, a much, and it's a small little level frequency, where if we would be able to expand and see more, we'd have we'd be able to see a lot more.
which I think the
Animals.
military is going to be able to do soon.
What's that?
That's which I think the military will be able to do soon, which means they did it 30 years ago. See the different frequencies and can see the different
Yep.
the different entities in the dimensions.
If they don't have it, if they don't have that now.
Yeah, that's what I'll say, which means it happened 30 years ago.
Yeah, explain. Yeah. From the Fatima event. Yeah, it's hard to explain. Yeah, and also with the Fatima, I think there were mass amount of people saw the sun spinning. It was raining.
Dancing.
It was raining, and when the rain was falling, their clothes didn't get wet. They saw rose petals falling from the sky. Certain things like that, which I thought were really cool.
What was that event that happened in maybe the Netherlands in the 1500s where the sky started dancing?
Oh no! Are you talking about the people started dancing and couldn't stop?
No. There was an astral event.
Yeah. There's a couple events. There's a couple events throughout history where people said that they saw the sun dance.
Yeah, and
there's more
the
than
guy
one.
that drew it made it look like it was a Star Wars battle.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like Star Destroyers.
Yeah. Hey, talking about that, how about the Veda? What the Veda says about talking about wars with magic carpets and this aerial battle with weapons that resemble nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons. Well, guess what? What did they find out some years? In that area where they reported this happening, they dug into the ground, and what did they find?
The glass.
They found traces of nuclear fallout. They found traces. I thought that was very interesting.
Isn't there a level of the Earth that's nuclear glass?
Yes, in that same area. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the other. They found absolutely glass in that certain area in the Veda text where it stated that this war occurred, and it was gods. They said it was the gods that were in war. Flying machines, bolts of lightning that destroy towns, so on and so forth. And then a couple years, hey, wait a minute, this may not be a story, as people would say.
I'm looking at. I got to find out what that old astrological.
Yeah, I can picture that picture. I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, it looks just like a dang battle. I have to look it up later. But it was it was in Denmark or something.
Yeah, but I thought that was very interesting that in that whole area where the Vedic text talked about this war, in that area they actually found nuclear fallout and, like you said, glass that was melted. And the only way that glass can get there is through some type of nuclear fusion.
Found it. Celestial phenomenon over Nuremberg, April 14th, 1561. Yeah.
I like it that you could do research that quick. I like that. That's good.
It's called being ADHD to a level.
Hey, listen, ADHD and dyslexic. I got them both.
Mm-hmm.
And dyslexia.
I'm my own Jamie from Rogan. I do my own research.
Do you really? That's awesome.
I'll just sit over here because I got 2 monitors and I can type pretty fast.
Yeah, and that's important. That really is, because you can look things up like this, and that's part of the fun. That's part of the fun of this.
I named this episode what I call it, Science and High Strangeness.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking about, because I'm doing a whole series on Mothman.
Yeah, and we can talk about Mothman.
But once I become like I call it ordinary time when the series is over.
Yeah,
I want to do like people similar to you, maybe like actual physicists and things like that, and then bring back my Bigfoot witnesses too, and kind of put them back and forth. Science and call the sub series Science and High Strangeness, kind of like my ordinary time series.
Oh, that would be cool.
Everybody check out Mothman100.com though, by the way. That's good. It's a good series. What did you say? My theory is the current war is a distraction from plasma-based tech. I think it's a distraction from AI taking over.
Well, a lot of times war are started for 2 reasons. Number one, actually, you know what? I'll even break it down to 1. Money.
Oh yeah, it's always money.
Money. Most all wars can probably be stopped or not started at all if we had people not making any money or have any interest in making money. Because war machine, they always say when a country's falling apart and you need to get the economy up, the best thing to do is start a war.
Mm-hmm. That's what Roosevelt did.
Yep.
So we need a war.
We need a good war. That's what they would say.
It worked out. I'm still living off that war. Hadn't been for Warner von Braun, I wouldn't have a job.
Yeah.
Warner von Braun. What was that? Are you guys aware of any cryptid references from the Old Kingdom? How far back do they go? That cryptid stuff goes back forever.
Oh, God. Well, you got to remember the Loch Ness Monster in itself was 1,500 years ago was the first documented. Yeah. I think a priest, Columbia, or something like that. Yeah, 1,500. There's written documentation that in the River Ness there was a big, huge creature that actually ended up eating or killing a person. Is what that, if I remember that story correctly.
Here's some inside baseball that I didn't know about Loch Ness.
Go for it.
Do you know how, just picture in your mind how the island of Scotland and Britain look? It looks like Westeros, right?
Yeah.
It's straight up and down, and it has kind of a neck where Scotland is. And did you know that neck is a fault line with plates?
Oh, yeah.
And the reason there's a lock there is because the earth opens up. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Well, how about, wait a second. You're telling me there's possible underground caverns for hundreds of miles? Anything can come up, anything can go down.
Yeah,
right,
they're saying, yeah, there's caves that the Loch Ness can go in and out of the ocean.
The lake is there because of a fault line.
Yeah,
and the African rift over by the Horn that's turning into that little ocean.
Yeah,
it's got lakes forming because of it for the same reason. It makes me wonder if something might creep in there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a possibility. And the other thing, also with the Loch Ness, with those fault lines, they're saying there's a lot of quartz. There's a
Yeah,
lot of
that's a big
quartz,
thing.
and when you have that type of movement with quartz, theory says that you might be able to open up a portal.
Yeah, all my cryptid buddies
Uh-huh.
say that every hotbed is always quartz.
Yes,
I want,
always quartz.
we got 7
wherever
people
there's
watching.
quartz, absolutely, quartz are incredible. They really are. I mean, they can be used as microchips, from what I understand. You
And
can
that's
store
why-
information in quartz
Mhm.
crystal.
That's why here in the South and like the Appalachians, kind of where I'm at,
Uh-huh.
and up toward West Virginia, they got all that lore because it ain't nothing but quartz.
Oh yeah.
Check this out. This is probably first grade stuff, but I want people watching to see just what I was talking about just now.
Go
Look,
for it.
look at this. You see that line right there? That's
Yep.
Loch Ness, I
Yep.
think. Yeah, that's Loch Ness.
Yeah, that's it.
And this whole line right through here is a fault.
It's a fault line. Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
causing all. And I'm like, I mean, that could be anything in there. That's,
Yes.
I'm like, wait a minute. Why did you bring that up in like Loch Ness 101?
Yeah.
Also, I like the hypothesis that it might be a giant mollusk, because that would really contribute to
yeah,
its
I
ability
mean,
to hide.
I would say maybe more of a sturgeon of some type.
Mhm.
But you got to remember, but believe it or not, there have been whales, and there have been porpoises, and there have been bigger type animals to get into that Loch Ness, because there are a lot of waterways going into the loch. So there are other animals. Seals get into the loch. So there are other bigger type of animals that you can find in there. Dolphins. Actually, History Channel just recently had up to date, and I've seen them all. And I thought this was very interesting. When they asked what is the Loch Ness monster, they kind of said it could be all of it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you're right. It can be all of it.
I mean, it leads to the ocean. Like
Yes.
the lake is attached to the ocean. Be
Absolutely.
it underground. But like you can paddle a boat from
Yes.
Loch Ness to the
To
I
the
guess it'd
ocean.
be the North Sea.
Yes.
Whatever.
Yes,
But
you
yeah,
can. You
anything
can
can get
paddle
in there.
boat to the ocean from there. It'll take you a
Anything
while,
can get
but
in
it
there.
can.
15 miles, it looks like,
Is that what it is? About 50 miles?
from
Yeah, it's not
from
far
where
at
it
all.
stops. I'm just saying, like for an animal just to drifting out,
Yep. It's
if
not.
it's a
It
little,
won't
if
be
the
hard.
water's a little up,
Yep. It
it
won't
could
be
be a
hard at
giant
all.
whale. Yeah, I mean, we get bull sharks in the Tennessee River.
Yeah, absolutely. You got well. As a matter of fact, Jaws. The movie Jaws. So it started out up about what 100 miles in a river.
Yeah, the
first
inspiration
attack.
when that shark showed up.
Yep, the first attack was not even. It was in that area, but it was in the river. A shark went up the river and started attacking.
They get them in the Great Lakes a lot.
Okay, I have that book. It was her name was Alexandria David Neal. It was called Magic and Mystery in Tibet, and that book was amazing. All those stories that you hear of all these monks and these extraordinary powers. Well, guess what? In her book, she actually talked about some of the things that she witnessed.
Sure enough, there's a picture of it.
What is it? And that's where they talked about the tapas too. In that book, that's where I learned about tapas, mind creatures. She's the one who said that. Hey, listen, I did all the prescribed chants. I did the meditations they told me to do, and she said this thing started appearing.
The Magic and Mysteries of Tibet.
Alexandria David Peel. Oh, you're not going to be able to put it down. Really, it is just yeah, like it's just some of these things that we all talked about that are impossible. She witnessed and she wrote it in her book.
I got to be careful looking at stuff like that. I'll end up trying it because I always want to I look up the things about putting somebody's name in a jar full of water and throwing it out the window, and they quit their job or something.
And they what?
They quit their job or something and leave. It's like witchcraft. I don't ever do it, but I like.
Oh, I know. You got to watch that. I always warn people about that. Don't mess with that stuff. I always say, don't mess with that stuff.
Yeah, I don't think we're supposed to go near that.
Yeah.
I'm going to a haunted hospital this weekend, and I'm a little bit nervous.
Where's that at? Where are you going for that?
It's South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. I've been there a couple times. It's only a half hour from where I grew up.
That sounds like fun, actually.
Oh, it is. It's not scary. It's dark, which is scary, but last time we went, I actually had some experiences, and I wasn't scared at all from the experiences.
Yeah.
But it was like I got more curious about it. I didn't know I would feel like that. Because when it started happening, I'm like, this is amazing. Like it's like seeing an animal or something.
Yeah. Yeah. When it comes to paranormal, my experiences, I do remember when I was a little kid, and somehow, some way, I kind of blanked this out, and I remember it just popping in my mind. I saw a triangle UFO one time when I was young. Um, the other thing, also, when I was in the military, I was stationed at the Army War College in Carlisle, and the
Hmm.
building I was at said that it was haunted. So when I was doing my grad work, I was doing my grad work at Shippensburg University here in Pennsylvania. What I would do is I would stay late at work and do all my papers, type in all my papers. Well, it was during that time that I'll be typing, and in the corner of my eye, I could see movement. And then when I sit there and look, there's nothing there. And then I'm sitting there, and like orbs. They were big orbs,
Hmm.
and I would just see them. And as soon as I look, they weren't there. But if I wasn't looking, I can see them floating around. And then I'll sit there. When I look, there's nothing there. It was at that time that I'm like, oh, time to go. And that was my time to go. When I start seeing the orbs, the movement in the corner of my eye, it was time to go. And it was more than once that
Hmm.
occurred to me. That was it. One time there was a hotel I stayed at. They said it was haunted. The TV shut off a couple times by itself, but that could have been, I could have been anything. But that's about it. I never really witnessed anything, you know, extraordinary or worth
Yeah.
talking about. I did witness a healer. A healer heal. As a matter of fact, his name was Father Diorio. He probably passed away. A Catholic priest. This is when I was a little kid. He was known to heal people, and he went all around the world, and he was known to heal. And I did see him heal somebody without anybody around. Do you know what I mean? He would have tens of thousands of people come to see him, and he would sit there and heal the people, and he would put their hands on and do stuff like that what healers used to do. But anyway, I did witness him, just him and two people, nobody watching, nobody looking. I did watch him heal this guy. I think he had a back brace, and he had some problems, and he went, touched him, said something. They told him to take the brace off, and he was actually able to bend his back where he wasn't prior. So I thought that was
Hmm.
very interesting.
That's yeah, that'd be amazing to see. And I kind of think that's kind of somebody that has like admin privileges to our game.
Yeah,
Just restore it to the factory default.
that would be cool. That would be
I
nice.
mean, it's some of the manifestation coaches tell you to, change your OS and think about it and
Yeah.
vibrate up.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, with the gateway, a lot of that is the manifestation. That's what I've been looking at. That's where I've been studying. That's how I started learning about the quantum. And I've been doing it for about 3 years, and I got to be honest, Bob, it's amazing. I can't tell you how blessed I am with what's been happening when I started doing my
Hmm.
meditations. I really have been blessed.
It will change things that you'll start noticing.
Yeah, I know it
And
has everything from my health to my finances. It's just, it just there's something to it. That's all I'm gonna say. There is something to it.
mhm. I do it more in the form of prayer because I don't know if I think it's because what you believe happens.
Yeah, well, to me,
Yeah.
that's a form of prayer,
It's the
though.
same thing. It's
Yeah, it's the
exactly the
same
same.
thing. Exactly. It's almost the same thing. It is prayer. It really is.
Hmm.
As
And
far as I'm concerned, it's
yeah,
prayer, really.
and the results you get from manifestation is because you believe that that's working, and that's the same with I think the prayer thing. Whether there's someone on the other end of the phone or not,
Yeah.
it works. It's not like a magic wish. Like some people are like, well, someone send them thoughts and prayers because their house collapsed. I'm like, well, that's not how prayer works, bro.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah, it
but
doesn't.
it's not a God ain't a wishing well, as they say.
Yeah.
But if you stick with it and believe that it's going to work and
Yeah.
put your eggs in that basket cautiously, you're going to get results.
You will get results. Yes, you will. Absolutely.
But you have to
And
believe it.
you when you just start meditating and start doing this yourself, you place yourself in a much better position. You put yourself in a much better place. Things start happening that is positive. And with that, with all that coming together, it's just like a snowball effect. You keep doing it, you keep believing it, you keep working it, and all this amazing stuff starts to happen.
My big problem is what. Let me address Brendan's seeing a white Tic Tac at Disney World. Wow.
Oh, he saw the ones that they've been seeing lately. The
Yeah.
Tic Tac. Yep, the Tic Tac.
Sure, it wasn't just Big Hero 6 up there, just Baymax floating around.
That's kind of cool.
I was saying my big thing with the manifestation and extreme prayer is I usually don't start it until I'm in like a pickle. So I can dig myself all the way back out instead of just doing the work all the time. And
Yeah, you got to be consistent. Yeah, and you know what? I at least 4 to 5 times a week I meditate, at least 30 to 45 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week, and I've been so consistent with that. For these 3.5 years. And like I said, it's almost like I have been living a blessed life. It really is. And with that, there's still issues, that I'm working with, in my head, with I have post-traumatic and stuff like that. Now, with a lot of that, that's helped me. That the meditation has, I could almost say, probably even saved my life. It saved my life. And it's probably, I would say, considered probably the most important thing to me that helped me turn my life around. And I keep going and I keep going and I'm going to keep going. It's now become a routine. That's what it comes down to. It's now become a routine. And when you have things that are routine, that's when things happen.
So you're doing like the entire gateway process then.
Oh, I'm almost done with it.
Wow.
I'm almost
yeah.
done. Yeah. Now I haven't. People always talk about the astral projection. I have not received that state. I have not been there yet. I have not.
Have
I
you
been
tried it?
close? I got to be honest. I'm not ready for that yet. I'm not ready. Now, can I get to that state? Yeah, I can get down to the after 3.5 of years of meditating and researching and reading and doing. I can get myself into a very deep state and get close where if I wanted to do it, I probably can. I'm just not comfortable to get there yet.
I nearly got there once.
How was your experience?
I started the shaking part.
Yeah, the shaking. Yeah, that's where I was at.
And woke up.
The vibration. I was at the vibration and I said, "Uh-oh, this is what people say. This is how it starts." And
I threw myself awake. My body
I pulled myself out of it. Yeah, I said, I'm not ready for this yet. And I got to be honest, I can place myself in that position almost at will to that level where I start feeling the vibration. And then everything starts, the sounds start to kind of close. And then when I start getting to that level, I'm like, not ready for it yet.
Have you ever been into a theater whenever the big sound systems and like in a spaceship is re-entering orbit and they play it and you feel it? That's what it felt like to me for like a second and a half. And
I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, I feel that just
it
that.
Said, I came out.
Yeah, I could get to that level. I'm just not ready yet.
No, I haven't tried it since.
Yeah,
so damn, it nearly worked.
Yes. Yeah, there are some things that I've tried in the past that scared me so bad I don't touch it.
Like, where am I going to go once I project?
I do not touch it whatsoever. I'm just not ready. Some of the stuff that happened to me that I just was not ready for, and it just behooved me to just stay away from it for now.
Yeah, that astral projection, if that actually works, like that would be. I mean, how would you put that genie back in the bottle in your mind? I'm like, damn, I can do this now.
Yeah, but you know what, Bob? Though there are a lot of questions about that too, because a lot of these tests, some of it work, but some of it don't either. Neil, talk about Neil Tyson. He was asked about it, and from his research, and he had a good point. He goes, there have been many of tests that people put numbers or a word on top of a table that only one person knew. Okay. And they went and said, go do your astral projection. Well, you should be able to come out of your body to that level to see what that word is or number. And nobody has done that yet. Nobody has done that test. And that kind of bothers me. However, there have been tests that were done where they needed to get coordinates of a plane that went down. And guess what? When they did that, whatever they did, they found that plane and that coordinate. So yes, there have been reports that it has worked. But regularly, that's the question.
Yeah, very similar, Brendan. There was the guy with the Stargate project with the remote viewed that state-of-the-art submarine the Soviets had that had things on it that could not exist on the submarine. And sure enough, when they found it, it had what he described. I'm like, dude, I would just start every conversation with that.
Absolutely. It has worked. Oh yeah, it has worked. It's just not real consistent.
Yeah,
When
you got
that consistency. That's when that's when it can be real fun.
I had one of the main remote viewers in the world on here one time, Paul Smith.
Really?
Yeah, one of my friends from work is like kin to him by marriage. And I
Yeah.
saw him on Rogan and I reached out. And he's
And
like, yeah, I'll come on.
what was his name?
Paul Smith.
Okay, Paul
He's
Smith.
got it.
Yeah.
He's bald-headed.
Yep. I remember reading about seeing him on TV and all that. There's also Indigo Swan, I think, is another name that's popping.
Yeah, she's one of the big ones.
Indigo
She's
Swan.
got
She
she's
was one
got
of the
handlers.
original. Yeah, this person was one of the originals, Indigo Swan, who started with one of the originals in that program, who had some success. Who had some success with that.
He leads a course in Utah or Idaho where people go out there for a week and they learn how to do it. But he was telling me about the how they, like a queue, I guess you would call it. Like, I want you to look for a blue car, and the person would, I don't know, put what they wanted to find in an envelope with a number, and that number indicated almost like encryption, like a Diffie Hellman kind of thing, where you had the two different little characters, but you could use it to de-encrypt something. That's how they did it.
Yeah, that's so cool. That stuff.
Almost like a tag on something. Like the number 4 represented like a blue car, and it was because the blue car picture was in a 4 envelope. You had to find. I have to go back and look, but yeah, it's basically remote viewing encryption.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's how they test it. That's how they
P.
test
Diddy.
it.
Neil deGrasse Tyson was named a P. Diddy trial. What?
Yeah. He was on the list.
Of course he was. Why
He
wouldn't
was
he be?
on the list. When you're, it's when you're famous like that, it's kind of sick from what I see, but to have his name associated with that, it's kind of sad. Not only that, but he's associated himself with some political things also, which I thought he should never have done. Don't get involved politically. Just be that brilliant person. He's one of the very few people that can take some of the most complicated concepts and break it down where a 5th grader can understand.
I got that book he's got. Quantum physics. What was it called? The quantum physics for the everyman or something?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Yeah, that's the problem with being famous and going to all these parties and getting invited to everything.
Yeah.
Like, you could be completely innocent, but you're there.
Yeah, you get caught up on it. You're right. And you got to remember, from what I understand, from what I read with his, he had 2 different type of parties. He had a awful, nasty one. And then he had one where a lot of rich and famous would go to, but it was what I thought it would be the after party. That's where he's running into all this problems and issues of what he did. Yeah,
that's with me. I would hang out with people who are accidentally shady I didn't know about it, and just be friendly with them and show up and then leave.
Hey, they're celebrities. Hey, so what do the celebrities do? They like to hang out together. It's the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the beast.
It's called Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. I've got that book. He talks about quarks, quasars, and the God particle.
When you start breaking down the atoms, that's where you start coming into.
That's the code of the universe there.
The code of the universe. Everything is in there. Everything.
And the stars and the solar system's looking like atoms too. That's a ball of wax.
Oh yeah. It's we're all connected. We are all connected in one way or the other.
Well, it makes you wonder if, like, some people are like, what if we're an atom? Like, I don't think we're in an atom. I think that the morphology of that particular stage of matter coming together in its most purest form is probably the easiest probably the most efficient, the orbiting form.
Yeah, and it is. I agree with you.
I don't think that we're in. I mean, we could be in a big molecule, but you never know.
Yeah.
But I think just because it seems like everything in space does the orbit.
Everything
the galaxy or galaxy clusters over a black hole or the giant black hole.
the one constant is everything is moving. Everything is vibrating. Everything is moving.
hmm And I don't think that like some people like separate the cosmos and atoms in their brain as being two separate things. When in reality, it's just a drilled down version.
That's all it
It's
is.
just
Absolutely. It's all interconnected.
like the atoms in our fingernail are just as much a part of the solar system twirling around as the Venus and Uranus.
Absolutely. And that's the
Rings
quantum
around
theory
Uranus.
itself.
What do you think about dark matter being coined as negative hydrogen?
I just saw that. Well, the thing is, they don't even know what dark matter is. Our world consists of what 98% of this dark matter, and we have no idea what it is. That's scary in itself. That's the quantum physics. That's where the quantum physics is really connected with that dark matter.
I get that confused with antimatter.
What's that?
I get it confused with antimatter.
Yeah.
Which is dangerous.
Antimatter is just basically the reverse of matter. It's just basically it just does everything in the reverse, which is interesting in itself.
The fact that exists.
Exactly. But listen, just like anything else, just like the laws, you have for every action there's a reaction. For every yang there's a yin. For every pull, it's there's the opposite. That's life in itself. That is life in itself.
Does make you wonder, and I honestly don't know how there are people who are 100% atheist and agnostic out there. Like, have you not lived? Like, what happened?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is the way you were raised. Do you know what I mean? And if you think about a lot of these scientists, they once you start learning and you start questioning things, it is kind of tough if you think about it. But hey, with everything that's going on, like I said not too long ago, the calculations that whatever made us had to be perfect for us to be where we are at today.
And the fact that Mars, this isn't probably not as relevant, but the fact that Mars used to be where Earth is.
Well, not only that, but they're thinking that Mars might have been a moon. Have you seen that lately? Mars is a moon. The astro belt was a planet. All that floating around.
Oh, you mean the asteroid belt that's busted up?
Asteroid belt.
Yeah.
That used to be a planet. And Mars, what's its moon? And something happened where it exploded. Now, this is just conjecture. This is theory also. But yeah, I just saw not too long ago that Mars might have been a moon.
It would make sense because it does have that plate that looked like it was a certain way.
And it does make
just
sense.
Abandoned.
Exactly. And there's a space there that people are wondering, wait a minute. But between, where Mars is and also with the size of Mars, yeah, they're thinking that that Mars was a moon, that there was a planet there and that blew up. Something happened to it. The astral belt is that planet, the rocks that's floating around in the astral belt, and the moon, and Mars was the moon. All right, what do we have? Oh, as above, so below. Yes, that is so true. What is in is also above. What you see above is what you see in below.
We've had some really good comments tonight.
And and when they say, and I thought that's very interesting, when we talk about manifestation and meditation. If you want anything to happen in the outside, you have to make sure you do it in the inside. Before anything gets done, it happens here first. Every invention. Remember, everything that happens, every action that you do happens up here first. That's within. And then what happens, the reaction is, as within is as above is below. Same concept. That's what that means, basically. And
every room used to be a thought.
Every room, absolutely.
And that will keep you up at night.
Yeah.
There's the thing with manifestation. I've been through it before I really knew what happened several times.
Yeah.
And just recently in the last 2 years, have I really sat down and written it out what happened about asking for specifics and the course of things. And you can tell when the 3D starts falling apart and random things starts happening. Like, well, something's coming down the pike, but I don't know when it's going to be.
Oh, I tell my girlfriend, I'm like, everything's aligning. I'll just say it. She'll be walking by and I'm like, everything is aligning. I see all the signs, all the symbols that something is going to happen. And it usually does. But yes, synchronicity. That's basically all part of that stuff. But yes, and I do that a bunch of times with her. I'm like, it's aligning, and I'm ready for something to happen, and it usually does.
There's a couple of telltale signs, and these aren't definitive, but like when you start seeing a lot of people getting exactly what you want around you, that means you start feeling like, man, what about me? And you realize that if you just put your nose down, don't get jealous. That's how you handle that. And then there's you're going along, trying to make something happen, and then the opposite happens that almost sends you in a million miles in the other direction. That's where that sweet stuff is. That's when you know it's about to happen.
Absolutely. Yep.
The
and I
opposite.
always see the signs, the symbols. You know, there's always like there's always the same thing occurring, and I'm like, yes. And when I see it in threes, I'm like, yes, it's ready to happen.
I've had the signs that something's going to happen over and over and over for the last 2 years, and nothing's happened. So I'm like, what am I waiting on?
Just
like,
it's something big.
That's something because I've got like a set of things since 2007, since I started paying attention.
Yeah.
Certain things happen before something happens to me.
Yeah.
And so 2 years it's happened. The cycle's happened to me about 3 or 4 times in 2 years. I'm like, well, what the hell? Where is it?
No, it happens to me too. I get the cycles like that too. And you just have to be patient. When it's ready, it will show itself.
Okay, it must be just like Godzilla big.
Something happens. I get the same thing all the time. I love to see that because I know it's working. I know that the cosmos is listening. I know that everything I'm doing is working. And if you did the research,
thanks, Brendan.
People tell you that hey, these are the signs. Look for them. And not too long ago, I made a shift. I don't know if you ever talked about shifting. After my second year of meditation, I shifted. And I'll tell you what, that was amazing in itself when I shifted. And I'd had some shifted, they're just minor, but I had a real big shift. And when that happened, was just I just can't even explain. And once you make that shift, you're there. Okay. However, you can go back down, stop meditating, start doing things that are bad, stop eating bad, get out of your routine, have a chaotic life. No, you'll go right back to normal.
Yep.
You will go back to normal. You got that. But once you get to that shift, you don't lose that. You do not lose that shift. And then you get ready for your next one. That alignment might be you ready for another shift.
Yeah, you can I've leveled up a little. I can tell that that things have changed, and I've started to change my reaction to things, and that's caused some things.
Yep.
Like
Absolutely.
Instead of I had a kind of a shift a few months ago when I thought like this is over. Like I was having a really rough time at work. Like this is the worst situation I've ever been in.
Yeah.
And then I had one of my signs that I usually get, and I'm like, okay. And I had this epiphany that I'm a character in a movie and I'm just watching it.
Yeah.
And I started doing it like that and not reacting when things happen, and it just kind of fizzled away. It's like, and it went away.
Yeah, you'll probably
so far that's been 6 months in this.
You experience stuff like that. Yeah, those are pretty cool experiences. I think it's really weird, but those are all part of the signs that things are happening, that you're on the right track. Keep doing it.
Yeah, I feel bad when I outgrow things that I made manifest years ago that I thought were the best thing in the world. And like I've outgrown this, and it's time for my next thing, but I'm still stuck. I'm like, well, God, you feel unappreciative.
And and you got to be careful because you can fall into a rut.
Yeah.
You got to be careful. Just get by it. And that goes for anything. People get in ruts. Athletes get in ruts. Anything. When you're a student, you can get in a rut. When you're teaching, you can get in a rut. You just gotta fight through it. Once you get through it, a lot of times get past that rut, you're ready for another level then.
There's a meme about a guy sitting pissed off, drinking a cup of coffee, thinking, sitting here at a job I begged God for, and he's just mad as hell. That's kind of how I feel some days, because you start leveling up.
Oh yeah.
You ever get scolded by 3 1s? 111?
Yes.
I'll start ranting and I'll see a 111. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, mine is 333. I've been seeing a lot of 1111. 333 is always every now and then 555s. I go for a period.
I get a lot of 3s, 2s, and 1s.
Yeah, I get 3s. Never really 2s, but 1s, 3s, 5s.
I have I have two very specific 2-digit ones
Mhm.
that I get.
Yeah, I don't have any 2 digits. Everything's the angelic 3.
I've learned to look inward, and
Yeah. Mhm.
they used to when I first started noticing it, they used to give it to me in rapid fire. I'd see them
Uh-huh.
everywhere for like 5 minutes, and now they just show it to me one good time at a
Yeah.
place, like right in my, like if I look at like a bathroom,
Yep.
walking in a room, the room number is going to be that, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're doing that now because I've
Yeah.
moved up to
Oh,
like 200 level. Yeah,
14360. Yep. Yep, I get those numbers. And that's all part of you're on the right track.
got to pay attention, and got to be careful not to start getting obsessed with them too, because then you'll end up psyching yourself out. Like, what does 83 mean? I saw 83 3 times.
Yeah.
Chill out.
What's that
You
mean?
saw
Yeah. Just go
Doesn't
with
mean-
the flow.
doesn't
Go
mean
with the
anything
flow.
if you're not thinking about anything.
Exactly. Just go with the flow. It's just a sign that you're on the right track. That's all that's saying. What you're doing is correct. Keep going.
Mm-hmm. But if you start seeing the ones that have been deemed significant to you, like your number, I have my number,
Yep.
that if it starts appearing everywhere, I'm almost always in the same mood.
Yeah.
Or this happened. It was crazy. I
Uh-huh.
was driving to work one day. It's just a really good example. And I was seeing that number on everything.
Yeah.
And I wasn't thinking about it. I was having a good morning. Like, why in the hell am I seeing this number everywhere? So what's about to happen? It was like whenever you walk into a room in a video game and you got health packages everywhere. Like, why is there so much health? And the music changes.
Yeah.
You didn't know he was about to face a boss. I'm talking. It was like it was on. Like I was just having an episode.
Yeah.
It was everywhere, spooky everywhere. I got to work, and I'm thinking on the way, I said, "What's going to happen?" Sure enough, the VPN didn't work. That one, and like, hey, is the VPN down? I'm thinking that's what that was, and it meant it was going to be okay. And sure enough, I went out. I started troubleshooting. I'm a network engineer.
Oh,
And so
good. Awesome.
the VPN was down. So I go outside and I'm testing it with my hotspot outside in the parking lot,
Mhm.
and it's not working. I come back in and it works.
No.
I didn't do anything.
Hmm.
It was something with the service providers out in the ether,
Yeah.
causing it to break. And for 15 minutes though, hot on the collar. And that was it. I was thinking to myself, this is what this is. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But I'm like, well, what the hell? All right. That's one of the things that happens to me.
Yeah. Well, throughout your what you're doing, the cosmos does challenge you, and it does test you, and that might be a test. And I think that's very interesting because when I did my research, they said watch for it. Everybody goes through it. It tests you to make sure that you're ready for what you really want. I do really believe that you know, whatever it is that's happening, it does test you to see where you're at, see how you're going to respond.
I think that day it was used as a method of telling me to calm down and don't lose it, don't flip out.
Chill out,
but then
relax.
sometimes there is a test,
Yeah.
and lots of times whenever whenever you start freaking out when you first start that first break ground into it, I want to do this. And in your mind, like, I wish I could get it in like 3 days. And knowing if you got that particular level of whatever you were trying to achieve in 3 days, you would be able to handle it. Like, I want to earn 300 grand a year, and I work at Starbucks. Like, well,
exactly.
Well, you can't do that. What you want is the relief of having financial security.
Yes.
And that 300 grand in your mind is what you're striving, but you need to chill out and don't get mad at the universe because you're still poor in 3 days.
Yeah, no, you gotta work for it. Now, if you want to make $300,000 and you're working at Starbucks, how in manifesting that, how would that work? Well, let's see. You're a Starbucks doing coffee. I don't know. Maybe a month or two later, you become a manager. Then you become a regional manager. Then all of a sudden, you're so good at it that some person's going to come up to you and say, "Hey, listen, let's open one up."
Mm-hmm. You and your buddies.
That's how that works. Then you open that up, and then that 300,000 starts rolling. That's how that's how it works. That's how it works.
You'll end up in some weird precarious situation.
Exactly.
And on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And the person that picks you up, like, is your customer at Starbucks.
Exactly. It's your connect. That's exactly how it works. It puts you in a situation and aligns you to where you want to get to. Okay. It's not like, like I said, $1 million, it's not going to show up. But what it'll do, it manifesting helps align you to prepare you to get to where you're going.
Yeah, because if he were to stumble upon that lottery number, and get that $1 million that afternoon, you'd probably squander it.
Yeah, that's true.
I got $1 million. Because I've been trying to manufacture, making this podcast a career.
Yeah.
And I'm like thinking, when I first started doing it, I probably would have fucked it up. and when I first started thinking about it, I probably would have been like a kid that found his dad's gun in the drawer. But now, 2 years later, however many years later it is, if I was handed a particular, stroke of luck with this, like somebody famous shared and got me a windfall profit, I would kung fu stance, and hold the money like it was a bomb, and probably wouldn't even tell anybody but my wife about it, and just kind of be real cautious and have a plan. Like I've already thought like LLC, lawyer.
Yep.
Financial. I've got a financial advisor anyway for my retirement. I'll probably go with them.
Oh yeah.
The foundation, they call it. What did he say? Yeah, the life skills. And you're not trying to manifest money. You're manifesting the relief money gives you, the freedom and the feeling.
Yeah.
But everybody calls it millionaire because in their mind, you have to be a millionaire to be free.
Yeah. And and how much money is ever enough money?
Yeah.
I mean, so I always say, just give me enough to be happy, pay my bills, and that my family is taken care of when I'm no longer around. That's all I ask for. So, if let's say I won $10 million, I will make sure that, everybody in my family gets a certain amount of that, and I'm just not giving it to them. They got to earn that. My kids, they got to go to college. If you finish your first year, you get a certain amount. When you graduate, you get a certain amount. When you get your first job, you get a certain amount. Again, I'm just not going to give it to you. You're going to work for it.
If you gave your kid that much money before college, you might as well teach them how to do drugs.
Oh man!
Like, here's some heroin.
And that's why, I don't give any. I would never give anything for free in that easy.
Like these college football players getting $18 million out of high school. Good. You might as well. You might as well jump off a building. Without any kind of advice. Yeah. Yep. You better have some advice. We've been going for 90 minutes.
I can't believe this. Actually, I got to get going now. I would let's do this again. When are we going to continue this again?
Yeah, we'll see if you're during the school year. It'd be harder to book. Are you like a coach or anything?
I could go anytime. In the evenings, I can go anytime. Doesn't matter.
Okay, anytime. Because you may be co-host material. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, let me know. Let me know whatever you need. It would be my dream also, just like you, to do something like this.
I think I got kind of a toe on it too, so I don't want to let it loose. Well, all right, everybody. This has been Tim with a science teacher, and we've had a good time. And everybody check out Mothman100.com. I'm in episode 3 drops this weekend, and it's a witness to Mothman. The last 2 have been experts and documentarians, but my first witness is this weekend. So check that out and hit that like and subscribe and tell your buddies. This is kind of how my podcasts usually go during the ordinary time. I took a break from them this spring, but yeah, after this fall, I'm going to try to level up on the versions of guests. I'm looking at Rogan's old physicist guest and things.
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I'm swinging for the fences, man. I mean, I got to do this.
Go for it.
I can't be 80 years old and be like, I love my retirement.
Yeah, no, go for it. Right now's the time to do it. You know, you're on the right track. You know exactly what you need to do. This is awesome, and I'm ready. Let's go tomorrow.
Yeah. And I've got plenty of money to finance it too. That's one thing too. Until I get there, anyway. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. And Tim, it's been great. I'm glad this happened. Has to be a synchronicity. Too. Peace out, everyone. I'm gonna hit my theme music.
I never didn't believe in Bigfoot. I never believed in it. I didn't believe in it. I never give it any thought.
A kept wood knocking back and forth to each other, and it was in a pattern.
Barn owls don't typically throw rocks.
I come across these tracks.
Sasquatch is still not on my mind.
Hey, just a quick after party here for about 35 and a half seconds. Thanks everyone for watching. Like I said, I usually do my podcast in a similar format. Most of the time they are pre-recorded, and I'll do 1 or 2 lives a month, if that. But I had a good time tonight with the live. I needed to do it. It kind of, releases some of those endorphins, gave me a little dopamine. So I had a good time. Thanks everybody for watching. All the new subscribers I got half a dozen from that video alone, and really do appreciate it. Tell your friends. Again, Mothman100.com. I got 100 days of Mothman. Started 2 weeks ago, so it goes to the middle of September, I think. I think it ends the day of the Mothman Festival in Point Pleasant, which I may go to. It's an 8-hour drive from Alabama. But anyway, check it out. Check out the older episodes I got. I got some bangers out there. I've also got some bad episodes, but I'm working my way through it. All right, folks, take it easy.